Hello there, and welcome to the Time Film Podcast, where we talk film, TV, games, and all that jazz that there's no tomorrow. This week we're talking about Knives Out. My name is Tom, and as always, I'm joined with my co-host John. How are you this week?
Hello, 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 hello. I am feeling great. I'll get out of the way. I just went to a concert last night. If I feel really
Ooh,
tired
look at you
or
go.
yeah, finally out to human civilization and see the
Whoa!
whoa.
You were screaming your lungs off all night.
Yeah, I was
Who
screaming
was it?
every
Who who
word.
who did you see?
I went to see Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, nice, nice, nice.
Yeah, so I was with my friend and we were just vibing all the way. So it was
Oh,
just so much fun. So yeah.
beautiful. Honestly, it's enough to make a grown man cry. Brilliant. So this week, Knives Out. Briefly explain the plot for those who don't know.
So, Harlan Thrombey, a reputable crime novelist, is found dead after his 80th birthday celebrations. However, as Detective Benoit Blanc investigates the case, it reveals a ploy of sinister intentions. It's just said unravels. Oh, I thought it said unveil. Anyway,
You are
yeah,
tired, I tell you what.
I am. But don't worry, I've got the energy. I've got everything that I can talk about this film. So that's good.
Amazing. So yes, obviously Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery is going to be out very soon. We're going to be covering that in a couple of weeks. I thought first, let's talk about the original film itself. Full spoilers ahead if you haven't seen it. And I think if you haven't seen it, definitely worth the watch.
Definitely.
I haven't seen this movie since the cinema in 2019. And oh my God, this is just a masterclass in mystery filmmaking. I thought this was excellent. What did you think?
Yeah, it was a very different kind of movie making because it is mystery, who done it, and then it takes a new perspective. Like, who kind of did this. We follow Ana de Armas' character, Marta, who thinks he killed Harlan, but in reality, she didn't. And then it reveals that she didn't later in the film, but all the way through, it just picks up the pieces, like who actually killed him. And I thought that was a really interesting, perspective to see that all the way through. And there was interesting formulas into the who done it because it was just fresh every time you see who done it, oh, it's that character. But this one just makes a lot more sense. And if you got like this ultimate edition of the film and you get this sleeve case, and here's a really really cool part of it.
An
So
Ultimate Edition. Wait, what?
not an ultimate edition, but like a super special Blu-ray
Okay.
case. I
Oh, like a
think
steelbook.
like a steelbook, yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Cool.
I don't think that's available anywhere. But the sleeve case, so there's
Mm.
knives around it, like Harlan's obsessed with knives in
Yes.
his study. So you slip out the steel case, and then you put the knives in front of the cast, and then it reveals who the character is in
Oh,
the first place, and it's Chris Evans. So
that's
that's
very
a really
cool.
cool
That's very cool.
detail
Do
right
do
there.
you have
So
that?
no, I just found it on YouTube.
Okay. That's really cool. That's pretty cool. I remember, kind of talking about the marketing and that kind of like posters and stuff. The tagline for this movie was "Who done it like no other." I remember that being all over the trailers at the time, and I remember thinking to myself, "Is it really going to be a who done it like no other? Like how is it going to reinvent the genre? A genre that has tried and tested in so many ways. This came out in 2019, and literally the year before, we had an adaptation of Murder on the Orient Express. And I think I think it completely delivers on its premise. The idea that from the get go, maybe 20 minutes in, we find out exactly what happens and exactly how he died. And instead of following Benoit Blanc as he tries to unravel the mystery, we're more following Marta as she is trying to cover up her tracks. Not in any malicious way, but just for fear of being caught. And I think that's a really compelling way to follow the film. It makes the whole thing so much more compelling.
Yeah, because you get that perspective from her because she's a nurse, and there's this brilliant line at the end when Juan talked about like you actually killed Harlan, and we get to see Marta as the nurse all the way through, and they have this nice bond together with the characters, and also the cast. Oh, the cast is excellent all the
Mm.
way through. They was just engaging, but yeah, it was. Ryan Johnson's different way of visual storytelling because Marta's very caring, whereas the rest of the family is just horrible like Michael
Mm.
Shannon,
Mm.
Jamie Lee Curtis characters were just downright horrendous
Yeah.
towards Alan, and you're really interested to see. Oh, So who is really looking after Harlan throughout this time? And I thought that was a very perspective to see because if you had Benoit all the way through, that's going to take away the heart, the emotion. Yeah.
Yeah, so much of the drama comes from the family. And I think Rian Johnson is often described as somebody who likes to subvert expectations. And while I think that is true, I think that's kind of a reductive way to look at him as a filmmaker. I think that whenever he, quote unquote, subverts expectations, there's so much more to it than just that. And I think this film is no exception. There are so many clever ways that he is changing conventions and playing with it. One of my favorite parts of the movie is the first act when Benoit is questioning everyone, and everyone tells similar stories in different ways, and they shoot similar shots. But like, there's a particular shot where they're singing "Happy Birthday" to Harlan, and in one shot it's got
Mm,
Jamie Lee Curtis and Don Johnson, and the other shot it's got Michael Shannon and his family, and they twist it in very interesting ways.
yeah.
And I thought that was just so good, and the cast is just amazing, and they're really funny as well. Michael Shannon is so funny. Like, there are just like so many moments where he will say things like in the whole sequence where Chris Evans' character is like, eat shit, and, and Michael Shannon yells, I don't eat one iota of shit. Like, it's hilarious. And Tony Collette, also brilliant. And there's just so many incredible performances. But Daniel
Oh,
Craig, man, Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc is just fantastic.
yeah, you are completely right about that because Daniel Craig, he's been playing as Bond throughout the years, and there was one comment about he doesn't want to be in Bond anymore. But
Yes.
and moving on to the Knives Out, this was completely different, from Daniel Craig
Mm,
because he's a detective. He's a lot more different. I don't know how to describe him. He's a lot more energetic with the
mm,
character, and he's just having so much fun with it. He's just like doing his best on the set,
mm,
with the characters. Like, in the interrogation, it was just so funny, like asking questions.
mm.
It's interesting, how does he questions them? It just gives that proper detective feel, but in Daniel Craig's way. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how kind of he's got all these quirks about him and his like southern like phrases, like the way that he describes the mystery as he's like, this is a donut with a hole in the middle, but the donut hole is also a donut in the middle. And it's just like, again, this movie is genuinely hilarious, but it's also so clever. Every single little detail matters, and it all builds to some really clever things. And I just love the way that everything comes together. As you're saying, the family are vile, absolutely vile. And even
Yeah.
in the smallest of ways, again, you get like this contrast between the people as they're being interrogated. Jamie Lee Curtis's character says that Marta's character is from one place, I can't remember where. And then
Oh,
Don Johnson's character
Paraguay.
says, yeah, one of them says Paraguay, another one says somewhere else. And I don't even know if we ever find out where her family are from.
Oh, I think
But
one of
but
them said Peru. I don't know. Yeah, it
yeah,
was like
something like
really
that.
saying that. Yeah,
Yeah, the point is that they're both wrong. Neither of them
yeah.
actually know. None of the family actually see Marta as a real person. Like
Mm,
when they're having that whole like discussion about politics and immigration,
yeah.
and they're talking to her literally as a conduit for their discussion, not as an actual person. They never treat her nicely, and that all comes together in that brilliant scene where they read the will, and you can see how much it means to all of them, and Marta gets all of Harlan's possessions. You can just see the family turn on her.
You see their ideology in that house, and they talk about politics. You feel their power, and I think that works in a detective film because it's all about perspective. And with Arma's character, she is the carrying character, whereas the rest of the characters are in for power, greed, money
Mm,
over this house. Because Harlan made so many books. He's a millionaire. And it's a really nice way if you think about Harlan. He wants to give her the best life, and he knows that the family isn't nice as well. And also a caring character towards Marta. And he knows that from the very beginning. See that
mm.
chemistry between them. It's just so wholesome.
Yeah, the whole scene where he persuades her to play the game with him, and he's dancing around and he's like, we're going to play on my birthday. And you really see that he is a genuine good person. And he is the only good person in that family. And I think it was so important to show the way that they all saw him and establish how much scumbags they all are before we then get to see the truth. And we get to see what Harlan's like. It really endears us to him and to Marta and steers us away from the family itself. And I think the film then plays with that when they bring in Ransom, Chris Evans' character, playing this absolute douchebag. I think there's an amazing moment after, the family have all said that him being cut out of the will was the best thing that could have happened to him. They're all trying to speak to Marta, and Marta gets into his car and he drives away and he yells, I think this is the best thing that could have happened to all of you. Brilliant. And his performance in that is so good because halfway through he switches off that douchebag and he becomes very supportive. He becomes very much what you see in Chris Evans' performance as Captain America. And they're giving like these red herrings and they really like delve into the fact that they're all like so entitled and out of touch. Even the kids, like there are two kids, one of them who is frequently referred to as a Nazi, and the other one who pretends to care about Marta's well-being. And even if she
Oh,
does care more than everyone else,
Meg.
yes, Meg, she cares. Shut up, Meg. She cares
Shut up, Meg.
like deep down she cares more about her college than she does about Marta, and I think
Yeah.
that's just fantastic. The way that the narrative shifts in that will scene is wonderful. And if I could criticize this movie on one thing, it would be that whole plot line of the will and the family's reactions to it take a back seat for a while. It doesn't
It
disappear
does.
entirely, but I would have preferred if that was more of a strong through line in the third act, because that genuinely is like super super compelling what the film has to say about class and about disillusionment.
Yeah, it reminds me like the idea of the class and this whodunit. It reminds me of Inspector Calls, but that one's entirely different.
Yes.
So Inspector Calls is about this.
watch us
Uh,
watch us whip out our GCSE knowledge right now.
we've been through it. So it's about an inspector who comes in and talks about a young woman who died, but that young woman has a connection with this family, like each of the family members, and they all collectively learn about each other, like what they've done with this woman and how they felt dealing with her. And I think that is also, reflected here differently because the rest of the characters think a lot differently with Marta, and she wants to be caring, and the rest of them, they don't see her like proper human being. Like they only see her as something to help Harlan, and they just want money. So yeah, that's just a really interesting way to see
Yeah,
that
there's
as
a
well.
there's a line early on where I think Jamie Lee Curtis says, "Oh, I'm sorry that you weren't at the funeral. I was outvoted." There's only like what? Is there 8 of them in total? Let's say. And then later on in the movie, Michael Shannon also says, "Oh, I'm sorry you weren't at the funeral. I was outvoted." And then you begin to think
Oh,
it's another
that's so
small way of
scummy.
showing
Yeah.
how like fake they are and how little they care about her. They only start to care in the wrong ways when she gets the money, and they're not even caring about her. They want her to give up the money and give it back to them because they believe it's their birthright. There's a line where I think Chris Evans at the end is like, this house is our birthright, and then Daniel Craig like, oh no, he bought this house in the 80s. Like it's really interesting. And I love your comparison to Inspector Calls. In Inspector Calls, basically the argument is these rich people didn't literally kill this girl, but they did kill her in the way that they treated her, and therefore they are going to get their own demise. They're going
Yeah.
to lose their standing in society if
Mm,
this information comes out. And it's very similar in Knives Out. Their treatment of Marta and the fact that she then has power over them is going to be their eventual demise. And
mm.
I mean, we haven't even talked about the cinematography, but
Oh, the
there is a shot
cinematography.
at the I mean, come on, there's a shot at the end where it pans back as all the family turn around and look up at Marta standing on a balcony above them in their house in a place of power, and they now have no standings. All of their relationships have been broken down. Ransom has been arrested. Jamie Lee Curtis find out that Don Johnson was cheating on her. All these things have fallen apart, and Marta holds all the power. And I just think that's fantastic.
Oh, that might be one of the most satisfying endings. You know,
100%.
yeah, like there's so many satisfying endings. This one was like the most memorable. Like she grabs that mug that it's Holland's mug, right? Yeah, it's Holland's mug.
Yeah, I think so.
And that is just brilliant way of visual storytelling because you can see that connection with their relationship as well. And again, that's just reinforced. And she rises up against them, like she literally just stands on that balcony and she has that power, but she has the power of, to do something right in that house.
Mm.
She can do something about it because the rest of them, if they have the power of that, they're not going to do anything. They're just going to live
Yes.
life. They're going to live belly fulls. They're not going to do anything about it. They're just going to be
Mm.
spending money with it. And Marty, I think she's going to do some nice with it.
Yeah, she can use that money selflessly. She already wants to help out her family. But beyond that, I think that, she would do a lot better with the money than what they would do. The way that they would use the money would be promoting the kind of politics that would be literally hurting people. And the whole way that she reacts to things in the movie, as you said, she's the emotional center and she reacts emotionally. And she, even in the way that she has this innocence, she can't lie without vomiting. She has all of
Oh
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, like I think Benoit even says that she has this innocence, whereas they don't have that innocence. And, it all like kind of comes down to these core differences. And one detail that I really love is the painting in the film.
Oh, the
They're
painting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean.
brilliant.
I know
There's
what
a
you mean.
painting of Harlem and he's sitting in a chair and he's got a stern face and it looms across like this the living area where they have frequent discussions throughout the movie. And there is a point in the movie where we get just a shot of the painting and Harlem's got a stern face because and everything's kind of falling apart and everything's getting all tough. And right at the end, just before Marta walks out onto that balcony, she looks at the painting and the painting has changed ever so slightly. Harlan's now smiling and it's not something that is easy to notice. Like I don't think I would have noticed if it wasn't pointed out to me by Rian Johnson himself, but it's just like a really small detail to know that he made the right choice and that he did the right thing. And the way that even he reacts, like he is just like good throughout the entire thing.
And there's the different subplots for the characters. And as you said earlier about Anna's character, like throwing up every time she lies, and I think that is a brilliant way to show innocence when the character, as Benoit said as well. And
Mm.
with the rest of the characters, if you see that in the interrogation, you completely see a different side from them. You don't really see their weaknesses or anything like that. It was just like a proper interrogation. You just could not find out weaknesses and like, oh, who really did this? And with the interrogation, like you can see their names, you can see everything that was doing it, and they were just putting this mask on, and they show it to detectives, but then they show it towards the family members. You get to see their true colors, and that is a brilliant way. Perspective is an important theme throughout this film and class as well.
Yeah, I mean, they, in those interviews, the family are putting on this facade where they're all like, oh, yeah, we're all nice people. We
Oh, we're
wouldn't have
happy
killed
family.
anyone. Yeah, exactly. And you can see the difference between the truth and the lies that they're telling. You can see I mean, the good thing about casting all of these excellent actors, all these powerhouses, is that they all can play these subtle ticks that they have when Benoit says, oh, well, you're saying this, but I know that that's wrong. And you can see the subtle, like when he says to Don Johnson's character, he says, oh, well, they heard raised voices. And you can see the characters knows exactly what he's on about. These very small things that only these wonderful actors can do. And again, they're used so well. But can we talk about the cinematography in this
Oh,
film?
let's do it then. Yes, the
It's
cinematography.
come on. Rian
Mm.
Johnson, having seen all of his films, I think his films Brick, Looper, Last Jedi, and Knives Onion, Knives Out, soon to be Glass
Knives
Onion as
Onion.
well.
Yes, the
Knives
new
Onion,
film.
that's the third one apparently. But yeah, like the way that he frames things and the way that he works with his director of photography, I'm not sure who it was in this movie, but hats off to them both working together. There are so many incredible shots that tell you things about them and the way that they use the setting, and it's such a brilliantly thought out movie in the way that they shoot it.
Yeah, like it just encaptures that emotion. Like, especially, I saw so many memes out of this about like when Marta walks out the house. It's like after when the family finds out about the will, and then she
Mm.
walks out, and then the camera breaks from being static to being handheld, and
Yes.
that was so weird. It was just like really encapturing that overwhelming feeling, like you're just getting attacked, well, constantly being attacked by the
Yeah.
family, and yeah, it was great.
As good as all the shots are in this movie, I love specifically whenever the camera is mobile. Like in that shot, exactly, like she exits the house, and then like we get this continuous shot that follows her into the car, and they're all like around her, and it's so claustrophobic and interesting. And I mean, it might not even be in a continuous shot, but it feels like, you know, that you're with her every step of the way. Another one that I love is when they're all debating in the living room at night, and Benoit is sat by the fire, and it zooms in on him. The camera runs up to him, like right by the fire. And this is a shot they used in the trailers. And then it cuts to him, and he looks up and he says, "I do suspect foul play." And it's just brilliant. Like, there's so many great moments like that. The way that they use dollies at the end when Chris Evans' character stabs Marta, and he grabs the knife, and there's all these different dollies that make this a really climactic moment, and you genuinely think he's going to stab Marta until it's revealed that it's a prop knife, which Harlan literally mentions at the beginning. He talks about not being able to know the difference between a prop knife and a real one. And it's just like, that's so brilliant. This small line that was used earlier on is brought back in such a major way. I think that it's just genius. This film is just genius in the way that it does everything.
Yeah, it just explores many it's just a very it's complex. Yeah, it's just a very
Yeah.
complex narrative as well. You just explore everything, and with the cinematography as well, it just brings out the emotion and you drive with it. And again, it's just reinforced with the characters as well. And the narrative was a bit fuzzy with Chris Evans' character, Ransom, like trying to find out,
Mm.
who really did it. It was a bit weird where it was going, but
Yeah, the whole thing with the housekeeper, I can't remember her name, but that whole sequence where Marta finds her and she's been killed in the same way that
yeah,
Harlan was
yeah,
killed.
that's what I meant. Yeah,
Yeah, that kind of section, it does kind of, it's not quite as entrenched in the themes and the rest of the plot. You know, even though it does reflect those themes of dismissance of her, is exactly, you know, one of the reasons why they know that it was him, because she calls him Hugh because he's an asshole. It's very clever the way they do it, but it does feel a whole lot less connected to everything else. And therefore, yeah, I would agree with you, that bit does kind of fall flat, and that's where it kind of drags a little bit.
Yeah, especially that. Yeah. The score.
Wonderful score as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, banging.
And yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say though. Are you excited for a sequel?
Yeah, give me it. Come
Mm.
on. This is
I've heard
something really
great
different.
things.
Glass Onion. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard reviews. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's been some initial reactions. I think some people are saying that it's better than the first one. I don't know
Oh,
how I don't know
oh,
how that's possible, but if anyone can do it, it's Rian Johnson. I know that he has deals to make more movies with Netflix in the Knives Out saga. I don't know
the
what we're calling
Knives
it,
Out
but
universe.
what?
Ugh.
So, I mean, I'm very excited to see, you know, a kind of Hercule Poirot style franchise. If they're all this good, then I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah, give me it. Give me it. Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that's
yeah.
what we're going to be talking about in 2 weeks' time. So we're going to give Knives Out of 10.
I'm gonna sit comfortably in 8 out of 10.
Okay, I'm going 9 out of 10. Thank you everybody for listening. If you enjoyed it and you're watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up and subscribe
Yeah.
if you want to see more. And if you're on Spotify, you can follow us and give us a 5-star review if you think we're worthy. Next week, we're going to be doing Andor. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh
baby.
my God. I can't quite, like, if anyone's like a long-term listener and have listened to our Kenobi review or maybe our Book of Boba Fett review, you'll know that I liked those shows, but oh my God, Andor is on such a god tier level. It's what a show. What a
What
show.
what
And
what a
then
show.
we'll be doing Glass Onion the week after that. So stay tuned
Yes.
if you want to see more. And please send us an email. Tell us your thoughts on Knives Out. Tell us your thoughts on any stuff that we've discussed here, or ask us any questions. And you can email us oursteinfilmpod@gmail.com and we will answer it on the pod. And you can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at OurSteinFilmPod.
Yes, very, very excited to talk about Andor. It was just a
Oh,
massive step up from Kenobi. Like
ooh,
I really like Kenobi. I thought the story
yeah.
was really good. But oh my God, this
It's
I
mad.
it,
It's absolutely mad.
it's absolutely mad, and we just cannot wait to talk about it. It is going to be a long episode, which is good because there's a lot to explore. There's a lot.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed that, yes, what Tom said, do like it. We do enjoy talking about these films, and so yeah, so give it a like. And that's it. Take what you're given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.